Hey ladies, welcome back to the podcast. Today you are getting a very special treat. You are going to get my first session for my first session for our recession resistance conference. That's hard to say back to back. That we did this year. This episode is on, let's see what the title is, budget friendly meals your family will love. So I'm going to share all of my tips for budget friendly meals. This is, like I said, this is the first session of mine for our conference that has over 20 sessions, all about how to help your family thrive in an economy that doesn't want you to thrive. So we've got so many incredible sessions. If you head over to joyfulhomeapp.com, you can check it out. You can actually get a 7-day free trial. So if you want to binge watch all 20 sessions in those 7 days for free, you could totally do that. Just go to joyfulhomeapp.com. If you go to subscribe, you'll see that 7-day free option. And on top of that, if you use coupon code JoyfulHome20, you can get 20% off that app month after month after month with the monthly or the annual subscription. Just use JoyfulHome20 at checkout. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the episode. Hey ladies, welcome to my first session for this conference, which is titled Budget Friendly Meals Your Family Will Love. And I am very excited to talk about this topic. This is something that I have been working really hard on the last several years of not only trying to figure out how to cook, how to get dinner on the table for my family, how to do it in a way that doesn't consume my entire life in the kitchen, and most importantly, sometimes how to do so on a budget. Now, I titled this session Meals that your family will love because this is a particular distinction. You need to develop meals for your family that your family is going to love, that your family is going to eat. You can look up food tips online and you're going to see people say, tuna's a really low cost protein, so just eat a lot of tuna. Well, your family might hate tuna or can't have tuna. They might say just eat beans and you can't have beans. There are a lot of different factors for individual families. So what I want to do today is talk about some principles. I want to talk about some things that we can do in this quest to provide healthy meals for our family on a budget. But then what I want to encourage you to do throughout this is take those principles and figure out how they apply to your particular family. All right. So we're going to dive right in because I feel like I've got a lot of ground to cover. So this is my first tip for you. Developing budget-friendly meals that your family will love. That's what our goal is. You want to not just mimic how other people do it, what other people are doing. Throughout this process, you're going to be developing and creating meals for your family that make sense. And this is what I have done in the last 5 or 6 years that I really think has made the biggest impact and the biggest difference in my kitchen. So when I first got married, a lot of you guys know my background, my story, but getting married, I was a typical millennial child growing up in the 2000s. And I didn't know how to cook. I didn't know how to clean. I didn't know how to take care of a house. My parents were divorced. My mom was a rock star at all of that stuff. But I was busy doing other things. And, it was just not, I grew up when I was at my dad's house, grew up eating Pop-Tarts. And I just didn't know any of it. So getting married at the ripe old age of 19, never even had lived on my own, and had no idea how to run and manage a home. And that's something that I am working on equipping my children with much more. I want all 8 of my children to know how to do basic things like laundry and cooking. But when I got married, it was just this absolute crash course in how do you do all of this stuff. And so I went from having to figure out, I didn't know how to make spaghetti. We're talking canned sauce and noodles. I had to figure out how do you boil them? How do you do it? So I spent many years just really trying to cultivate the basics of what is cooking. How do you get dinner on a table? And I know a lot of you can identify with that. Some of you had very different upbringings where your mother taught you how to cook. You were making meals. You came into marriage. You came into adulthood with all kinds of skills. That's wonderful. That's what I'm hoping for my children. But I know a lot of you were the same as me, becoming an adult and realizing I don't even know how to actually feed myself. And I think today this problem is getting even worse with all of our fast food options and then all of the things like Grubhub and DoorDash, all the different things that can bring, you don't even have to leave your house now to go get restaurant food. And I think there are an incredibly overwhelming now amount of adults. I think millennials were bad, and I think the new adults are even worse, not knowing how to cook at all. And so we have to go from this figuring out how to even cook to then what is health food? What was it healthy? What does it mean to like feed our families? And now, especially today, how do we do that on a budget? How do we do it so that we're not breaking the bank? And I'm so thankful that nowadays there is a lot more healthy food options. So 12 years ago, when I was having my first babies, is when I really started waking up to what it means to eat healthy, toxins in our home. You can hear my full story with my brand new book, A Christian's Guide to Natural Living, which you can listen to the audiobook and read the book free in the app. And in the Joyful Home app. So you can hear more about that story. But through that process, I really had to figure out what does it mean to eat healthy? And then looking around the stores in 2011, 2012, there just was not a lot of options out there. Fast forward today to 2024, thankfully, there's a lot more healthy options out there. You can buy gluten-free things if your family has to be gluten-free. People are more aware. There's really good brands. Siete brand, for example, makes really great tortilla chips that don't have seed oils, things like that. But with this increased availability on the market also comes much higher costs. I love shopping at Costco. But you go to Costco and to buy the organic granola bars, to buy the organic chips, to buy all these things and replace, what you would normally buy conventionally with organic options or healthy options or seed-free options, all of a sudden your grocery bill's $2,000. There's also a lot of products out there that are really not that healthy. They say that they're, healthier, and they're just really not. They're junk food packaged in a different way. So I think we're faced with some different obstacles in 2024 when we are trying to eat healthy. And of course, then we know rising inflation, food costs, it just makes it feel impossible. Like, how do we feed our families well on a budget? I do think, however, there are some really fantastic principles. So, like I was saying, 5 or 6 years ago, I really started realizing I need to develop meals for my kitchen because I'd bought meal plans online before. I've done like once a month cooking from just like random places that I'd found, like, oh, this cool menu that puts together a month worth of meals for you, which sounds great. But every time I would take on one of those, I realized like it was like maybe way fancier food than we normally eat, or it was really just kind of more exotic recipes, or it was calling for a lot of expensive stuff. I was trying to buy all these fish dishes then, which I think fish is great. I actually personally love fish. Not everybody does. But like good wild caught fish is not in our budget right now. It's not in our budget to buy regularly as a family of 10. And so trying these different meal plans, it was a good process because slowly I kind of learned what our family likes to eat and the recipes that make sense to us. But it was definitely a process of learning that, figuring out what that is for your family. And I'm going to share some of our family's favorite kind of budget-friendly, easy, healthy meals. I'll share what those are in a few minutes. So here's a few things, though, in this process that I want you to think through. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, I've got 5 tips for you. Number 1 is to choose inexpensive but healthy bases for your meals. I think there is a lot of emphasis today on salads and having a lot of greenery. And I'm not going to say those aren't, those are great. That's fine. But I think a lot of times when we think, oh, we need to start eating healthier, we run to like plant-based options. And we forget that there are so many fantastic things that we can make. And actually, these are all plant-based that I'm about to tell you. But I just mean, I think we tend to swing too far to like, it has to be all fresh fruits and vegetables. I don't think we were designed to eat fresh fruits and vegetables every single day of the year. When you're in the winter, you traditionally wouldn't have access to fresh fruits and vegetables, or at least a much more limited variety. And so what I want us to think about is how can we make meals to stretch farther that are still healthy, that have a lot of beans. There's so many different kinds of beans. There's so many great ways that we can cook them. There's so many delicious things that we can do with beans, and beans are super high in fiber. There's great protein. The amount of things that are in beans is wonderful, and beans are so cheap. You get a pound, 5 pounds, 25-pound bags of dried beans. you can make really, really good food for your family very inexpensively. Another great base for meals is lentils. I had never made lentils until 5, 6 years ago. Now I love lentils. I think people can think of lentils as quite dry and boring. My dad was visiting us, and he was staying with us a couple years ago when moved to Oklahoma. And I make this sausage lentil soup. I mean, you guys, this soup is amazing. I make it for any time somebody has a new baby, when someone's sick. Every time people are like, this is the best thing I've ever had. And I was like, oh, Dad, I'm going to make this sausage lentil soup. And he was like, oh, I don't eat sausage. I mean, I don't eat lentils. Like, no, I had a bad experience. Like, lentils are gross. And I was like, oh, okay. So, oh no, this was okay. This was when we were visiting him a couple years ago in California. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah, no problem. He's going to eat his own dinner. Then last year he was staying with us in Oklahoma, and he's staying in our house. And I'm like, well, I made sausage lentil soup for dinner. And he was like, okay. So he ate it and was like, this is so good. What is this? So his memory of lentils was when he was working on a farm in his early 20s, and the farmer's wife would make dinner for all the ranch hands, and she would make some sort of lentil soup. And he's like, I had to eat that thing every day all summer. And I'm sure she just made it dirt cheap. She was just trying to give these farm hands something to eat. And he just had this idea in mind that lentils are just gross. No, thank you. But lentils are great because they really just take on the flavor of whatever you're cooking. So when I make my sausage lentil soup, these lentils just become a vehicle for the flavor. And lentils are really high in protein. They're really high in fiber. Lentils are fantastic, and you can use them in a ton of different ways in a lot of different recipes. Now, of course, the next one, brown rice. We all think, oh no, rice is too many carbs, but a really good brown rice, basmati is my absolute favorite, our family's favorite. Basmati brown rice, we actually all prefer it to white rice. If I've ever like accidentally gotten white, or we, had to just run to Walmart and get a bag of white, everybody misses the brown, because the basmati brown rice is really light and fluffy. It doesn't, certain brown rices can be really hard to cook. They can just not turn out well. Well, basmati brown rice is amazing. And so we love using that. That really stretches meals a lot further. When we do Mexican bowls, we do a lot of brown rice. The kids get a lot of beans and rice, and then a little bit of ground beef, because they're going to come back for like 3 more burritos. In fact, we've had times where, because everybody wants a bunch of ground beef on their burritos to stretch the meals. Sometimes we'll say that your first, 2 burritos, you can have ground beef on it. And then your next 2 burritos, just do rice and beans. And there's some really great ways that you can really stretch. I mean, and they're getting rice and beans and some good sour cream on top. Like, they're getting very protein loaded meals. You don't even need the ground beef in there, right? So brown rice, great. Beans, lentils. You can even do cauliflower rice if you're really trying to go on a budget, or working on weight loss, something like that. Root vegetables, potatoes, sweet potatoes, squash, anything like that can be wonderful. Act as a good base for meals as well. So I know nowadays in our just like anti-carb world, and especially when people are working on weight loss, okay, you don't want to load up on a bunch of brown rice. Like, I totally understand that. But I think we get so negative about carbs that we forget kids especially need really good healthy carbs. Kids need more carbs. And in fact, if you're trying to eat like a carnivore or keto-based diet with kids, it's going to be incredibly expensive. And I don't think that is the healthiest thing for them anyway. So be thinking through beans, lentils, brown rice, potatoes, sweet potatoes. Those are fantastic ways to be able to stretch meals, to have those as a base. So a lot of times we'll do, love doing stir fries where I'll throw like chicken and any sort of like random vegetables that we have together. We'll either make our own teriyaki homemade sauce, or, which you can find a teriyaki recipe in Cookbook Volume 2. Or we'll buy the Paleo Valley's teriyaki sauce, which is like sugar-free. It's really good, and make like a nice stir fry and then put that over a bed of brown rice. Well, you can make that stretch I mean, one chicken then can stretch to so many meals when you do it that way. And then if you have somebody like Jason, a lot of times won't be eating brown rice, so I'll make his over a bed of cauliflower rice. Like, you can get really creative with stretching these recipes, and using beans, rice, lentils as your base for meals can just stretch it so far, especially when you have kids. So the other day we had done Mexican bowls, and we had I had made a huge pot of refried beans, which super cheap. I used organic pinto beans from Costco, from Azure. So it was actually like really decent. Like, those are really healthy. And for lunch the next day, the kids were like, "Mom, I hadn't done refried beans in a long time. A lot of times I'll just do like a pot of black beans and leave them whole." And they were like, "Mom, your refried beans were so good." And they're like, "Can we have that for lunch?" And I said, "Oh, I don't have it. We're out of everything else. We just have the refried beans." And they're like, "Okay." So they just had a bowl of refried beans with some cheese on top. And that was an easy, fast, very inexpensive lunch. And like, there's a lot of things we can do that way. Meals don't have to be as complicated or as crazy as we think that they need to, especially when we have kids. There's so many great ways to keep them full that they're going to be really happy with. So choose inexpensive but healthy bases. Think that through. What are some things that you could do? Incorporate more beans, lentils, brown rice, things like that. Now, the next thing we want to look at, we are a meat family. We love meat. Jason is of the opinion, like many men are, that it's not really a meal if there's not meat present. So I do we don't do a whole lot of meatless dishes. I know some families, to try to stretch meals, then they will do more meatless dishes, which, if that works for you, that's wonderful. We for breakfast, we don't always, for breakfast, most of the time we don't have meat involved with breakfast. I don't do breakfast sausages or bacon a whole lot. I would love to. We'd love to eat more of that. It's just expensive. And to buy the healthier versions of those is very expensive, but we do those for special occasions. But for dinner especially, we don't do a whole lot of meatless meals. What I try to do is take meat that we have and stretch it farther in the meals. So kind of the traditional meat and potatoes kind of idea of a dinner, where you've got a slab of meat, a vegetable, a starch. Those might be simple, but you're also using a lot more meat. I was actually just looking at a food recommendation, and they said when serving a meal, you should plan for 1/2 pound of meat per adult and 1/4 pound of meat per kid. And I mean, the boys in my family would love that. And we do have times where we'll do steak or something special and fun like that, where everybody's eating a lot more meat. But on the whole, I'm never hitting those ratios. We are always taking meat and trying to get the flavor of the meat and getting like that hearty goodness of the meat and stretching it farther. So ground beef is a great one. I make so many things where ground beef just kind of disperses into it, and you feel like you're still getting a good amount of meat and it's spread out more. I can take 1 pound of beef, if I'm putting it in a meal like that, and stretch it for my whole family. Same with ground sausage. Ground sausage is great because that flavor there infects everything. So I will make a giant crock pot full of my sausage lentil soup. It's 1 pound of ground sausage, and that I will make that for 2 meals for the 10 of us. We'll have it, and then we can have it again for leftovers with 1 pound of ground sausage. And there's so much other goodness. We put zucchini in it and tomatoes, and there's all the lentils and the flavors. Like, everything then tastes like this incredible thing. And you've got this delicious sausage that's in it, but it's only 1 pound that's feeding our big family for 2 different meals. So it really can, the ground beef or sausage, or you can do ground turkey. I personally think ground turkey is very expensive. I know sometimes you see that on a list of it being cheaper, but I don't know, maybe different places too. It can be cheaper. But ground turkey is another great one. If you love that, you can have that stretch as well. The next one on the list is eggs. Okay, so like eggs aren't meat, but they're in that protein family, right? But eggs are a terrific and inexpensive source of protein. So eggs, like we love doing egg bakes, where I'll do an egg bake and throw a bunch of good things in there. You can make so many meals with eggs. We love breakfast for dinner. I actually think when you're really on a budget, throw a couple breakfast for dinners in a couple times a week. You're really going to be able to save a lot of money because there's just such a good source of protein. Very cheap, very easy to make, and you can make them in a lot of different configurations. The next one, I don't know why people don't talk about this more. That is chicken thighs. And when I wrote it on my list, it autocorrected to chicken tights. Chicken thighs. Chicken thighs are like the secret hidden amazingness. So chicken thighs are obviously the dark meat to chicken breasts, white meat, but they are so much cheaper per pound than chicken breast. They're so soft and tender, like it's impossible to ruin them. Pretty much any crock pot meal I ever have that would calls for chicken breast, I'll use chicken thighs instead because they cook so well in the slow cooker. You cannot tell the difference. They're just fantastic, and they are, I mean, significantly cheaper. So just make sure you look for boneless chicken thighs. A lot of times the chicken thighs will come with bones. Same way chicken breast, you can get bone-in chicken breast, but it's more often you'll find boneless chicken breast. We've gotten bone-in thighs too, and they are really good, but they're not quite as easy. You get the boneless chicken thighs, you just throw them in the crock pot, and they just absolutely shred like chicken breast. So good. And so much cheaper. In fact, I don't know the last time I just bought chicken breast because the chicken thighs work perfect. Unless you have a recipe where you want the chicken breast to remain whole. Other than that, I would pretty much use the chicken thighs for anything. And if you're using it in the Instant Pot or the crock pot, 100% just go for the thighs. All right, so that's actually a good way. If you're trying to say, hey, I really want to increase, I'm not only just trying to cut my budget, I want to increase the quality of our food. I'd like to actually be buying organic or pasture-raised chicken. Well, one easy swap is go for the organic pasture-raised chicken thighs, and they might even be the same price as the chicken breast you were buying before. So you've upgraded and you are kind of staying the same within your budget. Or, go for the conventional chicken if that is what you can afford. Another one that tends to be really good per pound are pork chops. We really like pork chops. So of course, pork is not the healthiest of meats, but having some pork chops every once in a while is one of our family's favorite things. Our next favorite meat to use is a whole chicken. And this is what I actually buy most of the time because a whole chicken's fantastic. You can really get enough meat off that thing to stretch it into a couple of meals. So something like doing a big stir fry. We have several different recipes, or doing like big giant thing of soup with a whole chicken. I mean, you're going to get the best flavor ever. And you really can stretch that whole chicken because you're shredding so much chicken off that thing. You can get chicken for usually several meals. I can stretch it into like with the ground beef, I'll make like a big, huge thing of soup that's going to last us 2 meals, maybe 2.5. And then you can take the bones from that and make bone broth. So you can really kind of maximize that whole chicken and really get a lot out of it. So I love using the whole chickens, especially when I just get into a rhythm of whole chickens. I can make the whole chicken, shred it, make the bone broth. And like if I'm kind of doing that on a weekly basis, then I right there have ideas for meals because I'm in the routine of doing that a lot. So another tip for meat as well. The one thing that I will tend to shop around for is meat. It really doesn't work in my life to go to 12 different stores trying to find, save 12 cents off one item here or there. I think depending on the stores in your area, that can be more profitable in some areas than others, where you are kind of going around to different stores. But meat is one that if I am, really watching the sales, funny enough, I actually think Sprouts and Whole Foods can be a good place for this. Those are very expensive stores, but if you're watching their sales, especially Whole Foods, if you have one near you, they will do like rock bottom Amazon Prime like sales, and you can sometimes stock up on like a killer price for organic, pasture-raised, different options that are healthier cuts of meat, and you're getting a really, really good price. But each week they'll only have like one thing on a really good sale. Sometimes it's steak and things that I'm not going to buy anyway, but I have gotten whole chickens there before. I have gotten some really, really good prices. So if you watch those sales, that can be the time where you're like, I'm running into Whole Foods and I'm just going to get this loss leader and get that one thing and really stock up. So watch your favorite store. stores, plan your meals around the meat that you find on sale. You find clearance meat, stick it in the freezer, really kind of shop around for that meat. All right, my next tip for you then is to plan for leftovers. Now, this makes a really, really big difference for us. This saves a lot of time. So we plan on making pretty much every meal that we make, we want it to last for 2 meals. So I'm either going to take it, we're going to have it for dinner and then lunch the next day, or we're going to have it for dinner and then dinner again in 2 days. So what I often try to do is make it so that we're not eating the same meal all week, but maybe we did a big thing of Mexican on Monday. Then on Tuesday, I'll make a huge pot of soup. Then on Wednesday, we have the leftover Mexican. On Thursday, the leftover soup. So you're kind of, it feels fresh and different. And this saves so much time. And I think it saves a lot of money too, because you're not buying all kinds of different ingredients. You're able to, instead of throwing 2 potatoes in, you're throwing 4 potatoes into the soup, right? So you're able to kind of stretch that more. I also think, why reinvent the wheel, making 7 different things each week for dinner? Make it simple, make 3 or 4, and you can really reuse those. Lunch, a lot of times around here, is leftovers. Just today, I pulled out a bunch of random leftovers we had. We had just a tiny bit of yogurt, enough for like one person to make a yogurt bowl. We had a little bit of tomato soup left over, a little bit of sausage lentil soup, and like 3 pieces of homemade pizza from our game night the other night. And so we brought it all out and just went one by one. Okay, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? And ate through those little odds and ends. But often, if we had sausage lentil soup the other day, we'll get that out for lunch and have a nice hearty lunch. And so leftovers really save us a lot and make it so simple and easy then eating throughout the week. And I think it makes a huge impact on not only my time, but also the grocery budget. All right, next tip for you is to plan really simple meals. Now, this is another fantastic tip. If you're just struggling to get dinner on the table, you do not need to be sourcing 200 individual specific ingredients every single week for this like really complicated meal plan. Ask me how I know. This is what I did for too long, was trying to put together. I'd sit down and go, I need a meal plan for the week. And I'd go to Pinterest and I'd start pulling a dozen brand new recipes that I have never made before. And, this is part of the learning process. I didn't have recipes of my own cultivated yet, but I would just like pull random ones. And then I'm off like at the grocery store and I have 100 ingredients and they're all little, you need one little thing of this and one little thing of this. And it was so overwhelming. And then, you have food loss then, because I would throw things away because I couldn't actually follow through with all of those brand new meals. And it can get overwhelming very quickly. So in this process of developing your own recipes, I encourage you to find 5 or 6 spices or spice blends that you love and stick to those. So we have I made this like homemade taco seasoning that is obviously meant for like taco meat, but it's just a really good Mexican blend, and it's got chili powder, and I'll just use that for all kinds of things. Even sometimes in a recipe, I'll just throw a tiny bit in because I want a little bit of that chili powder taste. Get a good like Italian seasoning blend, and you can use those. You don't need to go hunt down and make sure you have, do I have tarragon? Individual, recipe calls for these individual spices. Just know you start to learn, I can just throw a little Italian in there and that's going to cover it. So having a few of those really helps. When you do have to buy specific spices for specific recipes, those can be $5, $6, $8, $10 for one individual spice. And so getting your spices kind of just more the ones you're comfortable with, the flavor profiles you can just kind of throw in there and they're gonna work. That can really help. And then when you are grocery shopping, I encourage you to rotate through your favorite low-cost vegetables. So this is particularly important for when it's not the right season for vegetables. You can go, and if you just kind of get stuck in your mind of, we buy strawberries every week and we must have raspberries, you're going to spend so much money. Versus if you kind of figure out the low-cost vegetables that really stretch farther, fruit, like we buy apples and bananas. Apples are amazing. They last forever. They're really decent. You can eat them in a bunch of different ways. Bananas are great. I will buy oranges when they're on sale, grapes when they're on sale. Other than that, though, we're not getting really fancy. Oh, and we do obviously watermelon in the summer. We do a lot of pineapple when they're in season. We will go through a spurt of buying pomegranates in the middle of winter when they hit that rock bottom, 50 to 80 cents a piece. We'll do a couple rounds of getting pomegranates because I love those, but no pomegranates the rest of the year. That's for sure when they're like $4 a piece. But we kind of focus on, broccoli, cauliflower, carrots, a lot of carrots, celery, potatoes, sweet potatoes, mushrooms, those things that are going to be pretty stable throughout the year price wise, that you can really stretch in a lot of meals. Another great thing is Costco especially has several vegetable blends, frozen vegetable blends that are fantastic, like super good prices that you can get those vegetable blends for. I personally love asparagus and Brussels sprouts. And so whenever those are in season, we get a lot of those. And then also Costco, a lot of times will have those frozen options. So look for frozen fruits and vegetables. There's almost no nutrition lost with frozen, and it's a great way to stretch that budget. And then you've got the vegetables there. That's why we do a lot of stir fry, because I'm like, oh, I'll open the freezer and I've got 2 bags of frozen assorted veggies. Let's make a stir fry, because all you do is dump it in and heat it up, which is great. So if you kind of keep simple things on hand at all times, you can make really unlimited simple meals because you just have stuff there. I open up the freezer, I've got a whole chicken, I've got frozen veggies up there. Great, I can make a stir fry because I've always got brown rice on hand. I've always got teriyaki sauce, or I can make some, and we can just throw together a really simple meal from things we have on hand. Okay, next I want to encourage you to shop your pantry. This makes a huge difference. There are many times when I'm trying to make our grocery budget stretch that I'll shop from my pantry and put together weird meals where I'll just kind of open it up and be like, what do we have? We've got tuna. Okay. We've got noodles. Okay. What can I make from this? And we even do this in our RV where we have much more limited pantry and freezer space. We had just done a month or two ago, we did a really large Azure order, and it was still going to be like a couple of days or half a week until we got that order. And so I really didn't want to go do a big grocery shop, but we needed some food. And so I looked around and I got really creative that whole week, and I pulled together they were fine. A couple of them were weird. You're just kind of throwing ingredients together, but I did that, and it saved a lot of money from having to do an extra grocery shopping trip waiting for that Azure order to get to us. Lastly, my biggest tip for you is to learn how to cook from scratch. I know this sounds overwhelming, but it's not nearly as overwhelming as you're thinking. You can make, for example, the best faux sourdough loaf for pennies on the dollar. So and it takes 10 minutes of time. You don't even have to knead it. You don't have to do anything. You put it in a bowl, and then the next morning, bake it. Literally, it's that easy. The recipe is in Cookbook Volume 1. So if members of the app, this cookbook is already here in the app, Joyful Home app. You can go pull that recipe right now. We make lots of homemade protein-loaded muffins, granola bars. Those recipes are also in this cookbook. So many things that if I were to go to Costco or any store and want to go buy actually good granola bars that have got good protein, that don't have a ton of junk in them, they're incredibly expensive, and it's not in our budget for our family to buy a lot of pre-made stuff. Even talking pre-made muffins, even the non-healthy ones, I can make protein-loaded, good, healthy muffins that taste amazing, very, very, very inexpensively compared. So when you really learn how to make these things, and homemade muffins they take 5 minutes. Or 10 minutes. Some of them take 5 minutes. 5-10 minutes, you just literally mix them together, put them in the muffin tins, and bake them. And you could make 24 muffins. Now, our family will eat 24 muffins in a blink, but you also could freeze those, pull them out when you need them. There's a lot of things that we can do that when you think, oh, I cook a lot from scratch, you picture these recipes that take 5 hours long and you're in the kitchen all the time. No, you can do really simple, easy stuff. So when you really need to stick to a budget, nothing beats learning how to make these recipes yourself. So let's look. I'm going to give you some examples. So if you're watching the video, this cookbook right here is my Finding Joy in Your Kitchen, Learn How to Cook from Scratch Out of a Bulk Pantry. This was my first cookbook, and this is the cookbook that I cook out of every single week. This is our family favorite recipes: muffins, granola bars, my faux sourdough recipe in there, sandwich loaf, the things that we make all the time. Now, the second to last section is dinner recipes. Now, I just want to go through this. I'm going to give you an example. We're going to look through a few recipes. I'm going to give you an example of what it looks like when you just have things in your home that you can pull together from your pantry and how that makes it such a big difference. So this first recipe here is my sausage lentil soup. We've talked about it like 12 times now. I need to go make some. So this shows you how you can just start to have things on hand. Sausage lentil soup is one that 99% of the time I could make on a moment's notice because I just have these items on hand. The great thing is all of these items, or most of them, can also be used in other of our favorite recipes. So if you start keeping things on hand, kind of a simple short list of those, there's so many things that you can cook and have all the time. So it takes 1 pound, and this makes a really large amount, 1 pound of ground sausage. So I always have a couple packs of ground sausage in the freezer, an onion, garlic, always have those, always have garlic and onion on hand. 1 pound of green lentils, uncooked. So we've always just got a thing of lentils, chicken broth, diced tomatoes, and then salt, pepper, Italian seasoning, and chili powder. So those are things that we just always have on hand. I do also like to add in diced zucchini. That is my favorite. You can do this recipe without it, but I love throwing in diced zucchini, which most of the time we have. Or if I have it in mind that I want to make this, I will just pick up some zucchini. That's the only thing I need to buy at the store to make this recipe. You can also throw in whatever vegetables you have on hand. Okay, let's see. Let's look through a few more here that are kind of pantry ones. Okay, these two are a great example. We've got chicken salsa bowls, such an easy crock pot dinner. And you've got chicken breast or thighs. You've got salsa, or you can make your own, but if you've just kind of got some salsa hanging around, which we normally have salsa on hand, any diced vegetables that you want, if you want to put some zucchini in, those are also optional. And then quinoa rice or cauliflower rice as the bed for the chicken. And then you can add sour cream, olives, cream cheese on top. But these are these basic ingredients I just always have on hand. All right, quick and easy stir fry here. You've got 1 whole chicken shredded, brown rice, mixed vegetables, teriyaki sauce. So simple and easy. You can get in the habit, and it is really good. Minestrone soup is pretty similar. There are some things that, if you want to have some mushrooms, but like it calls for white beans. If you've just got white beans on hand, frozen green beans, you just kind of have those on hand. Pizza, we always have all the ingredients to make homemade pizza. Sometimes though, we are low on mozzarella and we need to go run and get some because we just don't have enough. This one's great. White bean chicken enchilada soup. This is a very tasty soup, and it uses just really simple things. So, having some jars of salsa verde on hand, having the chicken, enchilada sauce, white beans, diced tomatoes, a couple things of frozen veggies. Like if you've got these on hand and you're used to making this, you could make this every week really without thinking about it. So, a couple of other things. So this one's a good example. Pesto, zuppa discano. So it's got sausage and bacon in it, which if you've got those in the freezers, potatoes, chicken broth, homemade pesto, you've got these things that if you just keep them on hand, you get into a good habit. Other things in here, we've got homemade mac and cheese. We can make mac and cheese really easily with just stuff we have on hand. Spaghetti, all of these things, if you've got a bunch of diced tomatoes, you can grind those up, whatever, mix them. I'm losing the words. Mix those up to make your spaghetti sauce, but you can also use those in a lasagna. You can use those in the sausage lentil soup. I mean, you just start to dice tomatoes you have on hand. You use them in all these different things. If you've got the sausage on hand, you like to use for couple different recipes. If you've got the beans on hand, that's when all of a sudden you start to develop your own arsenal of family favorite recipes, which if you want to use this cookbook, you can start with our family favorites and tweak them from there for what works well for you. And you can really build out then an arsenal of recipes that work well for you, figure out the ones that are budget friendly and the ones that make sense. Okay, so lastly, what I want to do is share a couple budget saving tips. There's probably more we could come up with. I'd love to hear your budget saving tips, but the budget saving tips here, we've got number 1 is to use ricotta cheese no, I'm sorry, to use cottage cheese instead of ricotta cheese in Italian recipes. Or you can make your own ricotta, which is really simple to do and much more inexpensive. But ricotta is going to be a lot more expensive when you're making lasagna. So super budget friendly. Use cottage cheese instead. Now, we do prefer ricotta. I love ricotta, but in a pinch, you absolutely can use cottage cheese. One of my tips as a baker is to skip the vanilla extract in a lot of baking recipes unless you're really going to taste it. So like almost any baked good is going to tell you to put vanilla extract in. Go for it if you want. But in the last dozen years, vanilla extract has been very expensive. It's not actually at a super expensive rate right now. But vanilla beans sometimes are hard to get or they have a bad crop. They're much more expensive. And so there are times where I was blowing through so much vanilla extract, I would just skip it. Like a lot of muffin recipes, you don't need the vanilla extract. If you're making buttercream frosting, yes, you want to put the vanilla extract in. If it's something, or homemade ice cream, vanilla ice cream, something that you're really going to taste that vanilla, absolutely put it in. But there's so many recipes that you will never even realize it's not in there, and you can just leave it out. And so that's a good one if you're really blowing through a lot of vanilla extract, doing a lot of baking like we do. I just don't put it in a lot of times. Okay, don't track down and buy extra seasonings that you'll never use again for specific recipes. So there are sometimes specific recipes that you're like, this is such a hard to find seasoning and I'm never going to use it again. Just use what you have on hand. Like we talked about earlier, get familiar with what sorts of flavorings you can pair with others. I do a lot of seasoning and often I'm just pulling things out of the shelf and throwing it in because I've gotten really good at just kind of knowing what seasonings need to go where. My next tip is to learn how to make homemade yogurt. It's super simple and easy, and you can make a gallon of yogurt each week. I just bought a gallon of milk at Costco yesterday for $2.89. You can make an entire gallon of yogurt for $2.89. You can use it in place of sour cream, have the kids eat it. I mean, a gallon of yogurt just disappears in our house. You also could make half a gallon. You don't have to make a full gallon, but you can use it in place of sour cream. You can use it in baking recipes. There's a lot that you can do. You can do smoothies. $2.89, you can make full fat yogurt. And then you can also, of course, use any other kind of yogurt milk you want. You want to buy organic, you want to use raw, you can use any kind you want, but you can really stretch the dollar there. All right, next tip, shop seasonal produce only and exclusively. Okay. And then the last thing, I mean, honestly, is start a small garden. Vegetable costs can really be high. So really working on learning how to grow some simple herbs, some simple vegetables. You can do a lot of things. And in this conference, we actually have a session on low cost gardening. And a lot of times people will joke that like gardening is just a hobby because you're going to spend so much more on it than you ever get out of it. And yes, the startup costs can be a lot when you're making beds and you are, buying dirt to fill it. But there's also extremely cheap and free ways to do gardening. You can get a packet of seeds for $2 and you can really get a good harvest of tomatoes of, different things. Can those tomatoes for the year. There are so many things you can do with gardening, even if you, live in an apartment or you live in the city. There are so many things you can do even just with a small container and $2 pack of seeds that you actually really, really, really can save a lot of money. We have really deeply fallen in love with gardening the last couple of years. So we're actually going to miss, sad that we won't be doing a garden this year, but looking forward to future years on our future property to do so. Okay, well, I'm going to leave you there. If you need a resource, if you're thinking, oh, Jami, a lot of this sounds really good, you need to go check out my first volume, my first cookbook, members of the Joyful Home app. This cookbook is right here in the app, so all you have to do is search for it. If you're listening to this session on the podcast, you can go to joyfulhomeapp.com if you want to sign up. You can also order the print copy in our bookstore, findingjoybookstore.com. All right, well, I'm going to leave you guys here with that today, and I will be so excited to jump into my next 2 sessions.